Miami Dade College plays its trump card. That's a pun because, well, Miami Dade College decided sort of, well, ubiquitously that they were going to give a multi-acre parcel across the street from Biscayne Bay in downtown Miami to the Trump Library Foundation. Peter, you've spoken with several people regarding the value of this lot. What was that number, and how did you arrive at that?
So the lot's about, depending on how you look at it, 2.5 to 2.63 acres. It's located right across to the south of the Freedom Tower. It's a couple blocks north of where the Waldorf Astoria is going up, where they're selling condos or trying to sell condos for 50 million bucks a unit. It's on the west side of Biscayne Boulevard, right at the entrance to Port Miami. Used to be called Port of Miami, but they hired a consultant. They said, you guys need to rebrand. So drop the of. So now it's called Port Miami. It's no longer called Port of Miami. Probably a $100,000 consulting fee, but that's a different story. So this site is centrally located. And as a result of that, it falls under the Mac Daddy of all zoning. It allows 1,000 units per acre. And guess what, Daniel? If you're a developer and you build parking in a high rise, it's probably going to be about 40 grand a spot, $40,000 per spot. You know how many parking spaces are required in this particular development if they were to go forward with 2,500 acres? Excuse me, 2,500 units?
Zero.
Zero. Ding, 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 ding.
Wow.
Normally, parking's about 1.5 parking spaces per unit, 2,500 units at 40 grand a shot. That's a significant cost savings. If you go ahead and you blend out what the current market price is, $2.1 million a door for or a unit for one of these, you're looking at a sellout north of $5 billion. So we valued the property about 368 million.
So, and for anybody who's just joining this calamity, and that's us opining on it, it is a complete calamity. What happened was on September 23rd, the trustees of the Miami Dade College got together and they said, hey, we're going to give this to the Trump Foundation. And it got everyone by such surprise because they had only announced that they were going to have a meeting regarding real estate transactions, not even talking about the lot, just the day before. And according to Florida Sunshine Law, the argument is that they did not provide sufficient context, nor did they provide ample notice to this vote, to this decision. So our very vocal octogenarian local activist, a gentleman by the name of Marvin Dunn, has sued the college.
He's a professor. He's a professor emeritus, I think, at FIU.
Like, not certainly a force to be reckoned with. And so, local judge has set a trial date for this in August. Now, why are we talking about this today? Why is it still relevant? Well, because the trustees have come together and they said, you know what, we're going to vote on this again because since we're so certain that the way we did it the first time was correct, we're going to do it again. Which doesn't make any sense to me. But so they're going to vote on this again, and I'm going to tell everybody where and when. I annotated it here. The special meeting is scheduled for 8 a.m. at Miami-Dade College's Hialeah campus, conference room 5101. That's going to be on Tuesday, December 2nd. Now, could they have picked a more deeper, darker hole for nobody to attend? Because I know Peter ain't going. The Metro Rail doesn't go out there.
Daniel, Miami-Dade College, the campus.
It's like a block away from the site.
It's catty corner.
Why are they doing this in Hialeah? It doesn't make any sense to me.
To take it in Hialeah, and anybody coming from the east who are probably primarily the ones who are going to be affected. These are the people east of Interstate 95.
No,
they Hialeah.
It's a joke. So effectively, this is just a little dog and pony show. But the constituency is pissed, properly pissed, and rightfully so. I mean, who's really come out and spoken out about this? Mike Fernandez, who held money back because of the anti-immigration stance that the Trump administration has.
Well,
And
and why don't
then
we get into some of that color? Why don't we get into some of that color before you talk about the opposition? Let me sort of point out one thing. So you got the Freedom Tower. Freedom Tower is a 100-year-old building. It opened up in 1925. It was the Miami Daily News back in the day during the Magic City era. And this is according to a book called Bubble in the Sun. And if you have not read it and you care anything about real estate in Florida, read that book, do it over the Thanksgiving, and then follow up with a book that Daniel recommended called 1929. It's part one and part two. It'll take you back to the 20s and the 30s. But this particular building, it was a newspaper building. It was built to be spectacular at the time because we had so many newspapers and Miami was just blowing up everywhere. It was magical how everything just kind of came together. Fast forward, and we get the situation in the 50s and the 1960s. You have a bunch of people fleeing Cuba because of communism, because of Fidel Castro. They all come over, and Freedom Tower, which is now called, used to be called Miami Daily News Building, it becomes the Ellis Island symbolically of where people are processed as they're coming into Port of Miami, which is just right across the street. So they come there, they do it. So this has been saved and seen as a beacon of freedom, of the American dream, of bring us your poor, your weak, your everything else. Come on over. This is the Miami version of the Statue of Liberty. And the Freedom Tower is located immediately across the street from the Trump library location. I went to the book fair this weekend and I was in the Freedom Tower and I was videoing across the street and you can see the magnitude. Now, all that being said, you got a presidential administration that doesn't like immigration, wants to put America first and wants basically they're picking out people, they're shipping them to alligator Alcatraz, they're shipping them everywhere else. And this library would be right across the street from this Freedom Tower. So the juxtaposition, it's
can't
just sort
make
of
this shit
shocking.
up.
You can't make it up. And then to add to it, what do we got going on with this particular library? What could happen? Well, there was somebody who's really spearheading Miami Dade College. Remember, when you came to the United States, maybe you came in through South Florida. Maybe you spoke the language, maybe you didn't. Maybe you were sort of trying to integrate into the community. So what did you do? You needed to educate yourself. And how did you educate yourself? You went to Miami Dade College. They offered cheap tuition. While the University of Miami might be $100,000 a year for tuition, you go to Miami Dade College, it's like $80 and $100 a credit hour. So significantly different. But what it did is it helped people learn English and help people create skills and for the United States and for the Miami market. Then they get integrated. Then themselves as well as their kids, they could strive towards living the American dream, which is what it's all about here in the United States. It doesn't matter what your politics are. Everybody sort of looks at that. We're supposed to be this beacon of light. So you're going to have the Freedom Tower right across the street from potentially the Trump Presidential Library. And there's an anti-immigration bend in about 50 miles to the west. You're going to have Alligator Alcatraz, which is a pop-up detention center in the middle of the Everglades, just to sort of juxtapose oppose it. Now, if we take it a step further, Eduardo Padron, the gentleman who really kind of led Miami-Dade College, he saw that the only way to ensure Miami-Dade College could continue to serve its mission was to get in the real estate game. That's how money is made.
Right.
He accumulated this dirt when nobody wanted to go in there because downtown Miami was effectively a shithole. It was one-story buildings. You had air conditioners on top of the roof. They all had to be barred so people wouldn't steal the ACs for scrap metal and sell it down on the Miami River. He had the vision, so he thought, okay, ultimately, when we sell off this dirt, or if we do something with it, it's going to maintain Miami-Dade College. So guess how much Miami-Dade College is receiving for this site? Take a guess what that number is.
Goose egg.
Goose egg. So this money that effectively, you always hear about Harvard University, you hear about these Stanford, you hear about these Ivy Leagues, they have these huge endowments. This was effectively Miami-Dade College's play to ensure that it could serve the purpose that it was basically set up for or basically morphed into. That's our situation. And one last tidbit I would throw out, Daniel. We have a mayoral runoff election coming up. We have two candidates. One candidate has been endorsed by President Trump, even though this is a non-political or an apolitical election. The other candidate effectively is a Democrat. So we got a Republican, we got a Democrat. President Trump's gone out of his way to sign off on one of the candidates. So the question becomes, why would President Trump, who's got to deal with Israel, he's got to deal with Iran, he's got to deal with the Ukraine, he's got to deal with all of the, why does he give two shits about what's going on in Miami? Oh, a Miami mayor might have some sort of input as to what goes on this site that's located right in the heart of the city of Miami. But maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Well, I think he's got his own reasons why he wants Mr. Emilio Gonzalez to be the mayor. But the mayor here in City of Miami really has no teeth. What, you got a veto power that they're never going to use, or they rarely use, except Suarez did use it recently for the lifetime pension thing, which, hey, I got to give him credit for it. he vetoed it. But
Yeah, but Daniel, if it looks like a chicken and sounds like a chicken, it's not a duck. Or a turkey, I should say.
or a turkey. We're going to talk about chickens later. So we gotta move on. Buy, sell, hold. Miami Dade College plays its trump card. Buy, sell, hold.
I'm against it. I'm against everything it represents. Listen, if there's gonna be a land swindle here, pay the cash to the college, let the college put the money away, and continue to serve its
Look, if
purposes.
if
All
they
I'm
want to
saying,
give them $400 million for it, which
all day
you know
long.
what, Peter's estimate plus 10% for your troubles. Do it.
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
think
It
I
served
think
its
that
purpose.